The 2017 Chevrolet Bolt is a milestone among electric vehicles. And why is it a milestone? Well, it's the price. For your 228 miles of range on a charge, it costs about $37,500 with destination before a $7,500 federal tax credit. Before the Bolt, for that amount of range, you would have to spend typically close to $100,000 for a Tesla. The driving experience in the Bolt is actually terrific. Like most electric vehicles, the Bolt EV is pretty responsive. Actually, 0 to 60 is claimed to be below 6.5 seconds. That's really good. It's better than the Leaf, not quite as crazy as some of the Teslas, but still really responsive, nice feel. The handling also really good. Having the battery pack down low with all of its weight really helps keep the center of gravity low and keeps the car cornering flat. The tires are the weak link here. They aren't terrible as efficient tires go, but they do tend to give up grip and start squealing pretty easily. One thing I'm not wild about is the ride quality. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's a little firm. The interior is really nicely appointed. We are in a Premier, which is the higher trim level, but I have to say the LT, which I've also experienced, is also nice. Good quality materials, cloth seats, but a similar color palette, nicely done. Now, one of the things I like about the car is the instrument panel gives you an estimated range of how much distance you can travel based on your current state of charge. But not just the one number, it also gives you a maximum, which is higher, and a minimum, which is lower. And this just emphasizes that your range will vary with how you drive, where you drive, whether you're using cabin heat, which sucks a lot of electricity, air conditioning also pulls some juice. So you get the middle number here based on how you've been driving recently. And it does a pretty good job of estimating how much range you have. If you drive a little bit more aggressively, a little bit of a little green line will inch down on the bottom part on the side and show you that you're trending less efficient. And if you're driving, with a light foot and being more efficient, that bar will go upward and show you that you're trending a little bit more efficient. So at least you're always mindful of how efficiently you're driving and how it's affecting your range. Another great feature is the optional full-time rear view camera, which appears in the rear view mirror. Like right now, it's a mirror, camera. And what that does is it eliminates any of the obstructions behind you, like the pillars, anyone in the back seat, or anything in your cargo area. And it also gives a wider view. Like right now, I don't see the truck next to me. There I do on the camera. There are a few things I don't like about the Bolt, primarily the seats. Several of our people have been complaining about the comfort. They designed the seats in a different way to make them thinner and produce more interior room, but I feel like the side bolsters on the bottom cushion are very tight. I keep feeling like maybe I left something in my back pocket. Honestly, I think this is something they need to work on for the next model year. Another thing I'm not wild about is it's not always real easy to see a traffic signal because the roof comes out pretty far forward, similar to a problem we've noted in the Volt. And on the other hand, this is high enough that I get sun in through the side window, and for whatever reason, the visors don't extend, even though they do on a lot of vehicles these days. Something else we're not wild about, it has an optional 360-degree camera and backup camera, and for some reason, the resolution is quite poor. It looks downright blurry, and we have cleaned the cameras. We made sure they're not just dirty, and the quality is just not what you find on a lot of cars these days, and not as good as the full-time rear view camera in the rear view mirror. The back seat is another area where the Bolt has an advantage over the Leaf. Even though the car is 1 foot shorter from bumper to bumper, the cabin is larger, a couple cubic feet. And as a 6 foot tall guy, I got plenty of room back here, a lot of headroom, a lot of leg room. Actually, if they wanted to make the seats a little bit thicker to make them a little more comfortable, I'd be fine with that. Now, the cargo area shows that there's been some compromise to make more room for the passengers, but it's not quite as bad as it looks at first, because this panel comes out, drops down, so the height is pretty good. Overall, behind the back seat, the volume isn't as good as the Nissan Leaf. But once you remove the shade here and lower the seats, the maximum cargo volume is a lot closer. And here you see the value of having this panel that can go upward. It gives you a continuous cargo floor and some hidden storage underneath. That brings us to an important aspect, which is electric cars need to be charged. And one way they can be charged is with a supplied cable. For charging, the Bolt has a standard connection called J1772. Looks like this on one end. It's used by all EVs except Tesla. And it goes in here. Now, this is the one that plugs into your household outlet, 120 volts. This will add 3.5 to 5 miles of range for every hour of charging. We got 3.5 miles per every hour. That is not fast enough. So you're gonna need what's called level 2, 240 volts. That looks a little bit more like this. Typically it's mounted to the wall. You need to have it installed professionally. And what it gives you is up to 25 miles of range for every hour of charging. So clearly, even if you run this thing down to practically nothing, overnight, it'll fill it up to 228 miles of range. Now, you also have the option to quick charge it if you pay for the option, $750 extra. DC fast charging now is in the form of a combination connection, CCS, combo connection system, where instead of a separate port like the Leaf has called CHAdeMO, this one is actually just integrated. Now, when you connect that, you can charge at 70 to 90 miles of range in 30 minutes, but you're not gonna have DC fast charging at home. You've gotta do that in public, and in some cases, it'll cost you. Now, it bears noting that Tesla doesn't require this hardware, they just need an outlet. And the level 2 hardware will cost you $750 roughly, and then whatever it costs to install to get 240 volts to your garage or charging area, which could be $100, it could be $10,000. It depends on how far away your service panel is. Now, some municipalities or states will rebate the cost or part of the cost of the hardware or the installation. So once you make that initial outlay and buy the car, by our calculations, you're paying about half as much to drive this car per mile as you would if you had, say, a 35 mile per gallon gas-powered car. And that's based on pretty low gas prices as we shoot this. Definitely a milestone car, definitely a really good price at this point. As EVs go, this is the first one that make it seem like it really is something that could appeal beyond environmentalists to people that want to save a little bit of money in the long run.